The restaurant lights shimmered like small stars, reflecting off the polished tables of Lagos Island's most expensive dining spot, La Mare Blue. Businessmen whispered over glasses of champagne, cameras clicked from quiet corners, and every movement spoke of wealth and pride. At the far corner, Mr. Daniel Cole, one of the richest men in Nigeria, sat stiff in his navy blue Italian suit. His phone lay on the table, glowing with messages that could move markets, yet he stared at the untouched plate before his son. Across from him, Ethan, a small boy of 8, rocked gently in his seat. His plate held a steaming bowl of seafood pasta, but he didn't touch it. His eyes were locked on the moving lights above, humming softly to himself. "Ethan, please," Daniel whispered, his voice tight with control. "Just take one bite. People are watching." But Ethan didn't move. His small hands pressed against his ears as the restaurant's live jazz band began another song. The soft laughter from other tables only made the silence between father and son louder. Daniel sighed, frustration clouding his sharp features. He looked around and noticed the stares. A woman at another table leaned toward her husband, whispering something that made him smirk. Daniel's jaw clenched. He was the man who closed billionaire deals with a single phone call, the man whose name could make investors tremble, yet here he sat, powerless before his own son. He raised his hand to call the waiter, but before he could speak, a soft voice interrupted. "Excuse me, sir," said a woman gently. She was young, with calm eyes and skin that seemed to glow in the restaurant light. Her name tag read Grace. She held a tray close to her chest, as if it were part of her. Daniel frowned slightly. "Yes, we didn't call for anything." Grace didn't flinch. "I noticed your son isn't eating," she said softly. "May I try something, sir?" Daniel blinked, confused. "You're a waitress, not a doctor." Grace smiled, not offended. "Sometimes, sir, you don't need medicine, you just need the right tune." Before Daniel could stop her, Grace knelt beside Ethan's chair. The movement was slow, gentle, like she didn't want to startle him. The room seemed to grow quieter, though no one really stopped watching. She began humming softly. It was an old Nigerian lullaby, one Daniel hadn't heard since childhood. The melody rose and fell like ocean waves, steady and calm. Ethan's humming stopped. His small body froze. His eyes, distant and unfocused a moment ago, turned toward Grace. Still humming, Grace reached for the spoon, scooped a small bit of the pasta, and gently moved it in slow circles, matching the rhythm of Ethan's rocking. The motion caught his attention. He blinked once, then again. Then slowly his mouth opened. Daniel's breath caught. He watched, unable to move, as his son took his first bite, the first bite in days. The restaurant fell silent. Then someone whispered, "Did you see that?" Ethan chewed, his small shoulders relaxing. His eyes softened. The sound of his quiet chewing filled Daniel's chest with something he hadn't felt in years: hope. Grace stood, her face calm and warm. "He just needed someone to speak his language," she said. Daniel stared at her. "How did you do that?" Grace simply nodded toward Ethan. "He showed me how." That night, as the black Mercedes rolled through the streets of Victoria Island, Daniel sat beside his son in silence. The boy was calm, resting his head on the car seat. For once, Daniel didn't feel like the master of his world. He felt like a man who had been blind to something far more powerful than money. Back in his mansion in Banana Island, Daniel sat alone in his study. The night wind pressed against the glass, carrying the faint hum of city sounds. He couldn't stop hearing the melody Grace had sung. Who was she? How could she make his son respond in minutes when doctors, therapists, and expensive specialists had failed for years? He picked up his phone and called his assistant. "Find out everything about a waitress named Grace from La Mare Blue," he said sharply. As he ended the call, he looked at a framed photo on his desk, a younger Daniel, his ex-wife, and a smiling baby Ethan. The smile was gone now, replaced by a hollow stare. For the first time, Daniel felt something he rarely allowed himself: guilt. Across town, in a tiny room above a noisy street in Surulere, Grace sat by the window, still wearing her apron. Her phone buzzed with a reminder, rent due tomorrow. She sighed and turned off the light. The same hands that had once held children in classrooms now carried plates to strangers. But tonight, for the first time in a long while, she smiled. That small boy had reminded her why she'd once believed she could change the world. Back in Banana Island, Daniel poured himself a glass of water, but his hand trembled. He remembered the way Ethan had looked at Grace, a look of connection, a look that never came for him. He whispered into the still air, "What have I been missing all this time?" The sound of a phone vibration broke his thoughts. His assistant's message appeared on the screen. "We found her. Her full name is Grace Ademola. You might want to see this." Daniel opened the attached document. The first line hit him like a punch to the chest. Former director, Hopebridge Center for Special Needs, shut down 5 years ago due to corporate funding cuts by coal industries. His own company. Daniel's glass slipped from his hand, shattering against the marble floor. He froze, his heartbeat thundering in his chest. Grace Ademola, the woman who saved his son tonight, was she one of the lives he had unknowingly destroyed? The city lights outside blinked like watching eyes as he stood there, unable to move. What was he supposed to do now that the woman who gave his son back was also someone he'd taken everything from? And if she found out the truth, would she ever forgive him? The next morning came slowly over Lagos, painting the city in soft gold. Inside his mansion, Daniel Cole hadn't slept a single hour. The broken glass from last night still lay scattered near his desk. He couldn't bring himself to clean it. His assistant, Mr. Tund, arrived early holding a folder. "She's not just a waitress, sir," Tund said quietly. Daniel took the folder, but his hands trembled. As he flipped through the pages, every line made his stomach turn heavier. Grace Ademola, Tund read aloud. Master's degree in special education. Former director of Hopebridge Center for Special Needs, ICJA. Closed 5 years ago due to company budget cuts. Daniel's throat went dry. He didn't need to ask which company. Hopebridge had been one of his. Back then, he'd signed a paper in a boardroom full of smiling executives. The education division had shown declining profits. He remembered his own words clearly, "Cut the special needs program, it's not sustainable." But that decision had saved his investors millions and cost Grace her purpose. Now, 5 years later, she had saved the only person Daniel truly cared about. And she didn't even know who he was to her story. Tund broke the silence. "Should I reach out to her, sir?" Daniel shook his head slowly. "No, not yet." His eyes shifted to a photo of Ethan, taped to his desk. He could still see the boy's smile from last night, small but real. He whispered almost to himself. She spoke to him, not with words, with love. Across town, Grace was already at work, her apron tied neatly, her hair wrapped in a simple scarf. She smiled through every order, even as the manager scolded her for being too slow with the VIP tables. She just nodded politely. Only she knew what last night meant. But as the hours passed, she began to notice something strange. A black SUV was parked outside the restaurant. Same spot, same car. Every time she looked out the window, she saw it again. She thought it was coincidence until she saw Daniel step out. He was dressed simply today, without the power suit or the bodyguards. When he entered the restaurant, the staff whispered. Everyone knew who he was. The billionaire whose name filled the news. The man whose empire stretched across Africa. Grace looked up from the counter. "Good afternoon, sir. Will you be dining alone?" Daniel hesitated. "No, with my son." Ethan followed behind, holding his small teddy bear. His eyes darted around nervously, but when he saw Grace, his face softened. "Grace," he said quietly. It was only one word, but it was the first word he'd spoken to anyone besides his father in 2 years. Daniel's eyes widened. He spoke your name. Grace knelt down and smiled. Hello, Ethan, are you ready for lunch? The boy nodded. The other waiters stopped to watch. No one had ever seen this child speak before. Daniel watched in silence as Grace helped Ethan settle into his chair. She dimmed the nearby lamp slightly, reducing the glare. She asked the waiter to turn down the music. Then, gently, she placed a small wooden spoon on the table. Ethan picked it up immediately, tapping it twice, a small sound only Grace seemed to understand. She began humming again, the same melody from the night before. Soft, calm, patient. Ethan smiled. Daniel could hardly breathe. It was like watching a miracle he didn't deserve. When the meal was over, Grace wiped Ethan's hands gently. Daniel stood. Grace, may I speak to you for a moment? They stepped outside the restaurant, the Lagos breeze brushing through the palm trees. Grace crossed her arms. You don't have to thank me, sir. Daniel shook his head. It's not just thanks. I owe you more than you know. Grace frowned slightly. Oh me. He hesitated, searching for words. Then his phone rang, the assistant again. Sir, Tun's voice came urgently. The media just picked up a photo of you and the waitress. They're saying you have a personal relationship with her. It's spreading fast. Daniel's heart dropped. He glanced at Grace, who looked confused by his sudden silence. Is something wrong? She asked. He forced a small smile. No, it's fine, I'll handle it. But it wasn't fine. By evening, the headlines had already exploded online. Billionaire Daniel Cole spotted with restaurant waitress. Who is the mystery woman? Grace saw it too. Her phone buzzed endlessly with messages from co-workers and old friends. Some laughed, some insulted her. She switched the phone off and sat in her small apartment, shaking. Meanwhile, Daniel's ex-wife, Angela, sat in her luxury flat in Lekki Phase 1, scrolling through the same news. Her red lips curved into a thin smile. So this is what he's been doing, she murmured. Her lawyer's number was already on speed dial. The next day, Daniel called the restaurant. He wanted to explain, to apologize, but the manager told him, Grace isn't here, sir. She's been asked to take some time off because of the publicity. Daniel's hand tightened around his phone. He realized that his attempt to protect his son had now hurt the only woman who truly understood him. He decided to go to her apartment. When she opened the door, Grace looked exhausted. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice stayed steady. You shouldn't be here, Mr. Cole. He took a deep breath. Please call me Daniel. She hesitated, then asked quietly, Do you know what the media is saying about me? I do, and I'm sorry, he said. I'll fix it. Grace shook her head. You can't fix everything with money. You of all people should know that. Her words cut through him like a blade. He wanted to tell her the truth, that he'd once shut down her school. But how could he, when she was already hurt because of him again? Ethan stepped forward from behind Daniel, holding a small drawing. It was a stick figure picture, 3 people holding hands under a bright yellow sun. Grace looked at it and smiled sadly. That's beautiful, Ethan. Ethan pointed at the picture and said softly, family. Grace froze. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He hadn't heard that word from his son in years. Grace knelt beside Ethan. You're a brave boy. Daniel's phone buzzed again, another message from his assistant. Your ex-wife is filing for full custody. She claims your relationship with Grace is inappropriate. Daniel's entire world seemed to stop. He looked at Grace and Ethan standing together, their bond undeniable. And in that moment, he knew the battle that was coming would not be about money or image. It would be about love, and who truly understood what it meant. He whispered to himself, his voice trembling, "How do I protect them both without destroying everything?" The Lagos sky darkened outside, heavy with coming rain. Grace looked up, sensing his fear, but before she could speak, lightning flashed through the window. And the power went out. Ethan gasped and ran into her arms. Daniel reached for the door, his heartbeat pounding. Somewhere in the distance, a car engine stopped outside. Who was there? And why did Daniel suddenly feel that this night was only the beginning of something much bigger? The rain poured hard over Lagos that night. Thunder rolled across the sky, echoing through the quiet streets of Surulere. Inside the small apartment, Grace held Ethan close while Daniel paced the room. The power was still out, and lightning flashed through the window every few seconds. Ethan's small fingers clutched Grace's blouse tightly. She hummed softly, that same gentle tune that always calmed him. The boy's breathing slowed, his fear melting away in her arms. Daniel stopped packing and watched them. He couldn't explain what he felt, part jealousy, part gratitude, and something deeper that scared him. For years, he'd believed strength meant control. But now he saw real strength in softness, patience, and love. When the lights flickered back on, Grace smiled faintly. "He's asleep," she whispered. Daniel nodded, "Thank you." She laid Ethan on the couch carefully and covered him with a blanket. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Only the sound of rain filled the silence. Finally, Grace turned to him. "You said your ex-wife is trying to take him away." Daniel hesitated. "Yes, she called her lawyer yesterday. She's claiming that being around you is inappropriate." Grace's eyes widened in shock. "Inappropriate? I've done nothing wrong." "I know," Daniel said quickly, "but the media's already twisting the story. They make it sound like you're using you," she finished sharply. He sighed, "Something like that." Grace looked down, hurt flashing across her face. "I've spent my life helping children like Ethan," she said quietly. "I never wanted fame. I just wanted to make a difference. Now I'm being punished for it." Daniel sat beside her, his voice low. "Grace, there's something I need to tell you, something you deserve to know." She looked up, sensing the weight in his tone. "What is it?" He swallowed hard. "5 years ago, your school, Hope Bridge Center, closed. It wasn't just bad luck. My company was the one that pulled the funding." Grace froze. The rain outside grew louder, as if the whole city was listening. She stood slowly, disbelief written on her face. "You?" Daniel nodded, guilt burning in his eyes. "I didn't know you then. I didn't know what that decision would do. It was just another business move to me. But now." Grace's voice trembled with anger. "You destroyed that school. You destroyed something that gave hundreds of children hope." "I know," he said softly, "and I would give anything to take it back." Grace shook her head. "Do you even understand what that meant to us? That center was my life. I believed we could change the world, and you erased it with one signature." Tears filled her eyes, but she wiped them quickly. Daniel stood, trying to reach her. "Grace, please, I can't change the past, but I can make it right." She stepped back. "No, you just want to ease your guilt. This isn't about you fixing things, it's about you learning what real loss feels like." Her words hit him like a storm. For a moment, he said nothing, then his phone rang again. He glanced at the screen. It was Tund, his assistant. He answered quietly, "What is it?" "Sir," Tund said, his voice tense. "It's bad. Angela's lawyer filed the custody motion early. The hearing is in 3 days." Daniel's chest tightened. 3 days? That's impossible." "She has evidence, sir," Tund continued. "Photos, rumors, even a story from an anonymous restaurant worker claiming Grace is manipulating you for money." Grace looked at him, shocked. "That's not true." Daniel ended the call, his face pale. "I know, but they won't care. They'll make it look like you're taking advantage of me and of Ethan." Grace's hands trembled. "So what happens now?" Daniel looked at her, his jaw set. "Now we fight." The next few days were chaos. News vans gathered outside Daniel's home. Reporters shouted questions through the gates. Online gossip pages flooded with headlines like "Billionaire's waitress scandal deepens" and "Who really saved the Cole family?" Grace couldn't go back to work. The restaurant suspended her for the brand's reputation. Bills piled up and calls from her landlord went unanswered. But even through all of it, she couldn't forget Ethan's smile. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that small boy saying, "family." That word gave her strength. On the morning before the court hearing, Daniel visited her again. He looked tired, older somehow, like the weight of the world sat on his shoulders. "Grace," he said quietly, "I need you to testify." She blinked. "What?" "In court," he explained, "you have to tell them who you really are, that you're not just a waitress, that you're a trained educator, that you helped my son when no one else could." Grace hesitated. "If I do that, the media will come for me again. They'll dig into my past, my life, everything." "I know," Daniel said softly, "but I can't win this without you. Ethan needs you." She looked away, torn between fear and responsibility. Then she nodded, "All right for Ethan." The next day came too quickly. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, photographers, and curious onlookers filled every seat. Angela sat in the front row, flawless as always, her lawyer whispering in her ear. Daniel sat beside his attorney, tense but calm. Grace sat behind them, dressed simply, her hands folded in her lap. When the judge entered, everyone rose. Angela's lawyer began first, painting a cruel picture. He described Grace as a manipulative woman who targeted a rich man and his vulnerable son. He showed photos, Grace feeding Ethan, Grace sitting with Daniel at the restaurant, Grace standing outside his mansion in the rain. Each image twisted the truth a little more. Grace closed her eyes, fighting tears. Daniel wanted to shout, but his lawyer placed a hand on his arm. "Let her speak first," he whispered. Finally, the judge turned to Grace. "Miss Ademola, please step forward." She walked slowly to the stand. Flashes from cameras filled the air like lightning. When she sat, the lawyer's voice turned cold. "Miss Ademola, tell the court, how long have you known Mr. Cole?" 2 weeks, she replied softly. "And in those 2 weeks, you claim to have formed a close bond with his child." "I don't claim it," Grace said. "It happened." The lawyer smirked. "And do you expect this court to believe that you, a waitress, accomplished what trained specialists could not?" Grace took a deep breath, her fear faded. "My name is Grace Ademola," she began. "I have a master's degree in special education. I was the director of Hope Bridge Center for Special Needs before it was shut down 5 years ago. I've worked with over 200 children with conditions like Ethan's. I don't need anyone to believe me. His progress speaks for itself." A murmur spread through the courtroom. Even the judge leaned forward slightly. Angela's lawyer tried to interrupt. "So you admit to being close with the defendant?" Grace looked straight at him. "I admit to loving his son like every child I've ever helped, because that's what real teaching is, love that expects nothing in return." Her words silenced the room. Daniel watched her, pride and pain written on his face. He knew she had just risked everything for them. But Angela wasn't finished. She stood suddenly. "Your Honor, this woman is manipulating my ex-husband and confusing my child. She's dangerous." The judge slammed his gavel. "Enough, Mrs. Cole." The courtroom fell silent again. Grace's eyes met Daniel's. Neither of them spoke, but both knew something had changed. For the first time, the truth was on their side. Still, as the judge called for a recess, Daniel's phone buzzed with a new message from Tund. "Sir, I just got word. Someone leaked private documents from your company. The press knows about the Hope Bridge shutdown." Daniel's heart sank. If the media discovered that he was the one who destroyed Grace's school, everything she'd built in court today would fall apart. He looked at Grace, who was surrounded by reporters asking questions. She smiled politely, unaware of the storm about to break. He whispered under his breath, "Dear God, please don't let her find out, not like this." But as one reporter shouted from across the room, waving a file, Daniel knew it was too late. "Mr. DeMola," the man yelled, "is it true that the man you defended today, Daniel Cole, was the one who shut down your school?" The room gasped. Grace turned slowly toward Daniel, her face pale. Their eyes met, pain, betrayal, and disbelief all crashing together. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking, "tell me it's not true." The entire courtroom went silent, waiting for his answer. The courtroom went dead silent. Not even the hum of the air conditioner dared to break the tension. All eyes turned to Daniel Cole, standing at the defendant's table, frozen, pale, caught between truth and the woman he'd hurt most. Grace's voice trembled again, louder this time. "Daniel, tell me it's not true." He opened his mouth, but no words came. Reporters surged forward, cameras flashing, microphones thrust toward him like weapons. "Mr. Cole, is it true you shut down Hope Bridge Center? Was this relationship built on guilt? Did you bring her back into your life to clear your name?" The judge banged his gavel, "Order, order in the court." But the chaos only grew. Grace stood there, her heart breaking with every unanswered question. She didn't need to hear him speak. His silence said it all. Her eyes filled with tears. She turned, pushed past the crowd, and ran out of the courtroom. "Grace, wait," Daniel called after her, shoving through reporters, ignoring their questions. She didn't stop. Outside, rain poured again, heavy, relentless, as if Lagos itself wept for her. Grace ran into the street, breath shaky, heels splashing in puddles. Daniel finally caught up, grabbing her hand. "Please, let me explain." She pulled away. "Explain what, Daniel? That you destroyed everything I worked for, that you ruined my life, and now you want me to help you save yours." "It wasn't personal," he said helplessly. "I didn't know you then." "That doesn't make it right," she shouted. "You took away hope from children who had nowhere else to go. You don't erase that with money or guilt." He stepped closer, rain dripping down his face. "I didn't come to you out of guilt. I came because you changed my son's life. You changed me, Grace." She stared at him, eyes burning. "You only changed because you finally saw the damage you caused." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then softly she said, "I believed in you, Daniel. I defended you when everyone else doubted you. And the whole time, you were the reason I lost everything." She turned and walked away, leaving him standing alone in the rain, the billionaire who could buy anything except forgiveness. That night, news of the courtroom scandal spread like wildfire. Hope Bridge Lake trended across social media. Videos of Grace's testimony were clipped, twisted, and mocked online. Half the internet called her a hero, the other half called her a hypocrite. Daniel's PR team tried to control the damage, but every article, every headline made it worse. At home, Ethan sat quietly on the couch, clutching his toy train. He looked up when Daniel entered the room. "Daddy," he said softly, "where's Miss Grace?" Daniel froze. "She's not coming right now, buddy." Ethan frowned, his voice shaking. "Is it because of me?" Daniel knelt beside him instantly. "No, no, no, never because of you." "Then why she sad?" Daniel felt a lump rise in his throat. "Because I hurt her, and I don't know how to make it right." Ethan reached out and touched his father's face gently. "Say sorry," he whispered. "You always tell me sorry makes heart better." Those simple words hit Daniel harder than any headline could. He stood slowly, realization dawning on his face. For the first time, he knew exactly what he needed to do, not as a CEO, not as a man with power, but as a man with a conscience. The next morning, the world woke to a shocking sight. Daniel Cole, the reclusive billionaire, was standing outside his own headquarters, facing a wall of reporters. No security guards, no press manager, no PR spin. Just him holding a microphone. "Before today," he began, "I was known as a businessman who made profits, not promises. But 5 years ago, one of my decisions destroyed something good, a place called Hope Bridge Center." The crowd went silent. "I made that decision without knowing the cost. I closed a door that children needed open. And the woman who ran that place, Grace Ademola, has every right to hate me. But she didn't. She forgave my son. She taught him what real kindness looks like." He paused, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't deserve her forgiveness, but I owe her the truth. So here it is. I'm reopening Hope Bridge. Every kobo, every cent will go into rebuilding it under her leadership if she'll accept." Reporters gasped. Cameras flashed wildly. "Mr. Cole, are you saying you're giving up control of the project?" one asked. Daniel nodded. "Completely. This isn't about business anymore. It's about redemption." Later that evening, Grace watched the broadcast on her phone from her small apartment. Her eyes filled with tears, not because she believed him yet, but because he finally believed in something greater than himself. A knock sounded on her door. She hesitated before opening it. Daniel stood there, drenched again, no umbrella this time. "I meant every word," he said softly. "The board approved it. Hope Bridge is yours again." Grace looked at him quietly. "And what do you want in return?" He shook his head. "Nothing, just a chance to fix what I broke." Silence hung between them. Finally, Grace stepped aside and said, "Come in." Inside, the air was quiet, except for the soft hum of the fridge. She poured him a cup of tea and sat across from him. "I don't know if I can trust you again," she admitted. "I don't expect you to," Daniel replied. "I just want to earn it one day at a time." He slid an envelope across the table. Inside were documents, ownership papers for Hope Bridge Center, signed and notarized. Grace stared at them in disbelief. "You really did it." He smiled faintly. "For the first time in my life, doing the right thing felt easy." Before she could reply, her phone buzzed. She frowned. It was an unknown number. She answered, "Hello." A woman's voice spoke on the other end, calm, cold, and familiar. "Grace Ademola, this is Angela Cole. We need to talk." Grace froze. Daniel looked up immediately, his expression shifting. "Who is it?" Grace lowered the phone slowly, her eyes locked on him. "Your ex-wife," she whispered. "She wants to meet me alone." This story doesn't end here. More is coming soon. So make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to be part of the journey.